Well, hello everyone. Ogre27 Kane here today, and we're gonna do a review of Sword of the Vagrant for Nintendo Switch. Let's do a brief overview and figure out what this game is all about. So this is an action-adventure RPG with Metroidvania elements. This was brought to us by a tiny little Beijing-based studio. It was licensed by Rainy Frog and published by Limited Run. If you're familiar with any early Vanillaware titles, then this should be right at home with you. It has a gorgeous art and aesthetic and wonderful sound. It also has a great story to it as well. I saw this on Hallowed Be Thy Games channel, and he highly recommended it as a hidden gem, and I have to completely agree with him. This title is fantastic and it's worth all of your time, so let's get into the story. So the story in this sees Vivian, the main character, get on board a ship and it gets attacked by otherworldly creatures. It then wrecks and she wakes up on this coastline. Now, her first goal and mission is to figure out where she's at and what she's doing, and so she heads to the nearest settlement. That's where she meets this girl, and you begin your first miniature story arc. The cool thing about this game is it really doesn't give you a lot of information on what you're really doing until about halfway through the game. You're really trying to figure out exactly who Vivian is and what her goal is in this world. You'll meet a witch who has seemingly good intentions, but may not be so. You'll meet a little wizard apprentice whose heart is in the right place, but his vision is blind. And you'll meet an uncanny cast of characters which just make you feel downright sorry for them. Each one seems to have been taken advantage of, and all of them seem to be in this massive quest for power. The only one who seems to be trying to unravel this mystery and stop what's going on is Vivian herself. The game has a lot of twists and turns, and it is extremely well written. I truly enjoyed the end of this game, and I really like the outcome, but there is quite a bit of work you have to do to see the actual true ending, so be prepared for that. There is a couple different versions. So let's get into gameplay now. So the first gameplay element I have to mention is how the game is similar to a Metroidvania. You will go from room to room very similar to something like Miramasa the Demon's Blade, and there are hidden entrances and secrets in each room. Some of them connect back to each other, and some of them open up routes that'll help you find new and cool weapons and items. The game also has a cooking system at each stopping camping point that you can cook and grow short-term increases to your stats. There's also a crafting system in which you collect different inventory pieces to take to a blacksmith and upgrade and build new swords. This is not really as integral as most of the important swords you'll find in the game you'll actually find out in the wild. You won't build them. So while it's there, it's kind of tacked on and kind of useless. Now, as far as the RPG elements go, it's all through the mana that you get from defeating enemies and collecting throughout the world, and you use it on an ability tree that allows you to upgrade your character and learn new abilities. These abilities, such as a double jump and a dash and new combat moves, allow you to really spread out and find new things in the world you couldn't before. So it's really addicting to not only grow your character like an RPG, but to explore like you would in a Metroidvania. On top of that, it's all about the art and aesthetic and having fantastic sound mixed in. The gameplay in this game is not unique. If you're familiar to a Vanillaware title, you'll feel right at home, but I love it. So let's do controls and audio. So we'll start out with controls, and the controls in this game are well done, but the timing is a little bit off and you have to get used to it with each weapon. You have a heavy attack and a light attack, and you have a magic attack, if you will, that's tied in. You can hotkey these magic attacks to up, down, left, right with your A button as well to have a whole different unique tandem set. Then on top of that, you'll learn combos, which I'll tie into it, and really just extend everything. Now, as far as the audio goes, the audio in this game is top-notch, one-of-a-kind fantastic. And I loved all the soundtracks, and I loved all of the aesthetic that they were going for, and the heavy metal feel to it is great as well. So we're going to show some of it off here, and I'll let you decide. This is a boss fight, but it's a well-done soundtrack with this boss fight. So without further ado, let's take a little bit of a listen. combat's up now. And as I previously mentioned in the controls area, the combat is heavily reliant on how you utilize all of your skills and abilities in tandem with each other and where you place them on your hotkey list. The thing that really I didn't understand early on in this was that you can use multiple abilities together one after another if you have enough magic to actually do it, your rage if you will. I thought that most of the game was dependent on using one ability with each rage because early on you start out with a very small amount of it. Now by the end of the game you grow your rage pool up pretty vast, and some of the abilities actually lower the rage cost to use, so you can use them in tandem. Now with that being said, you have a double jump, a dash you can do, and then you can use abilities to continue to scale up, and there are a few treasure chests in the later areas of the game that you'll need to do this on. So the complexity gets really up there with the control scheme. The other really cool thing about combat in this is how each element, as you see here with ice, there's also fire and thunder, but they have their own combos that uniquely inhibit or affect the way that the enemy attacks you or keeps moving in that combat session. Some of the bosses are a little more aggressive and some of them are a little weaker depending on what you're using. And you'll learn to keep more than one sword on hand because it's not always about the most powerful sword, but the most effective sword. There is a couple of very late game swords, the end of the game if you will, that nullify a lot of this. But for the meat and bones of the game, you will be utilizing a bit of strategy on which one you're fighting. I recommend not throwing away any of your weapons until you're sure that you've got the better upgrade for them. I love this aspect and the combat is great. So let's go ahead and touch on graphics and animations now. So they were really going for the Vanillaware aesthetic, and they did a really great job. The art is fantastic in this game, but you will notice, especially on a bigger screen, that there's still a lot of rough edges and you can still see a lot of pixelization. It is nowhere near to the standard of something like, say, 13 Sentinels or Unicorn Overlord, which I've been playing back and forth with this game to see that. But they did a great job considering how small their studio is, and the performance in this game is really good too. There are some minor frame rate skips here and there, but I never had a single crash the entire game, and I never had any major glitches or any long pauses. The loading times are a little long, but they're not ridiculous. You don't wait longer than, say, 30 seconds to 45 seconds to get in and out of an area. The other thing, too, is that the animation quality in this is actually really good for what they were trying to go for. They really were trying to mimic the Vanillaware aspect. And I have to admit that they did a good job with each character having individual animations. So let's do conclusion now. So in conclusion, this game is an absolute must-buy, and I have to shout out Hallowed Be Thy Game again for showing this to me, as this game is absolutely fantastic. This may be the closest we get to one of those old Vanillaware type titles like Miramasa or Odin Sphere, and frankly I'm okay with that if that's the case. This game is really well done, and you will enjoy the 15 to 20 hours you put into it. The cartridge is 100% complete, there is no downloads whatsoever, and it's still relatively cheap. I think I paid $35 for it. This game is a must-buy and one of my highest recommendations that I think I've played all year long. I really enjoyed my time, and yes, there's a small grind at the end if you really want to see the true ending and get everything, but you'll enjoy the combat and the world so much that it probably won't annoy you too much. There's only one boss I have to mention that sucked. So thank you for watching today's video. It was a blast to make. I upload every single Monday. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And have a great rest of your day. This is Ogre27 Kane, signing out.